The picturesque landscape of Australia's most famous beach has gone through dramatic changes over the past century. Bondi, the most recognisable beach in Australia, officially became a public beach in 1855, having previously been part of a private estate. The name came from the local Aboriginal dialect, where boondi was taken to mean water breaking over rocks or a place where fighting with boondi sticks took place. Slide me. Share this article. Share. From private reserve to public hotspot. Following European settlement in 1788, Bondi Beach and Bondi Park were originally granted to William Roberts in 1810, who kept the luscious landscape private. Decades later in 1851, Edward Smith Hall and Francis O'Brien purchased 200 acres of the beachfront land and named it the Bondi Estate, also keeping the area private. Mr. O'Brien then purchased Mr. Hall's portion of the land and renamed it O'Brien Estate and made part of the beach and surrounding are accessible to the public as a picnic area and amusement resort. Locals flocked to the new recreation site, which angered Mr. O'Brien, and he threatened to cut off all public access for many years. After years of threats from grumpy Mr. O'Brien, the municipal council intervened and asked the government in 1859 to make 25 acres available to the public. The motion was denied for many years, but the government eventually relented, and in 1882 the land became a public space, paving a way to Bondi Beach. Public transport routes were first introduced to Sydney's eastern suburbs during the 1850s, but horse-drawn vehicles didn't run to Bondi Beach, meaning that beachgoers had to travel on foot or by horse and cart from Bondi Junction. This was until 1884, when the first tramway was built. Years later, a substation was built at Bondi Junction, which meant the electric tram service could then be established in 1905 that ran between Bondi Junction and Sydney's CBD. It wasn't until 1929 that the electric tram service was extended to North Bondi. Bondi continued to increase in popularity, and by the 1920s up to 1,000 cars would be parked along the beachfront. Because of this, the municipal council introduced parking fees and timed parking periods of just 3 hours in 1926. In 1933, the state government took over the bus services that ran to Bondi Junction, and within just 1 year, regular bus services traveled between the beach and the CBD. Slide me. Bondi's baths, surf clubs and surroundings. As the beach grew in popularity, developments were quickly erected, with the first baths opening to the public in 1887. The Bondi Surf Bathers Life-Saving Club and the North Bondi Surf Club were both founded in 1906, introducing beach lifesaving into Australia as two of the first surf clubs in the country. Just a year later, a weatherboard shed for the Bondi Surf Bathers Life-Saving Club was built. Bathing sheds were remodeled and developed in 1911 to accommodate 750 men and 250 women. At the time, they were described as the finest bathing accommodation of any of the ocean beaches. During this time, a seawall at Bondi Beach was funded by the state government and installed, but sand dunes in 1924 caused it to collapse. The original baths were demolished in 1925 and just 6 years later replaced with the famous Bondi icebergs. The year 1933 saw the development of the clubhouse for the North Bondi Surf Club that is still standing today. Bondi Surf Bathers Life-Saving Club's current clubhouse was constructed in 1934. Waverley Council implemented a Bondi Beach and Park Improvement Scheme in 1923 to create a lively hub to improve tourism and bring more people to the beach. The plan included proposals for a kiosk, surf sheds, toilet blocks, a bandstand, the park surrounding the buildings and more pedestrian walkways. 4 years later, the council secured a loan of £120,000 with a further £40,000 borrowed in 1930. At the time, the scale and cost of the plans were like nothing ever done by a local council in New South Wales. The Bondi Surf Pavilion was completed by December 1928 and opened to the public, with the Turkish baths and hot water baths opening just 6 months later. It included spaces for retail shops, entertainment in a ballroom, cabaret theater, auditorium and dining spaces. Swimming and bathing costumes, towels, lockers and dressing cubicles were available to hire. The building's ground floor had 2 different courtyards, one for men and one for women, both containing individual changing rooms. Each courtyard had inbuilt tunnels underneath marine parade to a pair of concrete groins, barriers that protect beaches from being swept away, that opened up onto the beach for easy access. Due to the outbreak of war in the Pacific, the concrete groins were destroyed in 1942 and the park was surrounded by barbed wire. The Bondi Beach Improvement Scheme garnered so much public attention that 160,000–200,000 onlookers turned up to the official opening. Post-World War II. Following World War II and the changes society was experiencing at the time, the Bondi Surf Pavilion underwent a decline. As heavy woolen bathing costumes went out of fashion and nylon became popular, changing sheds were not as essential as before. The use of the motor car was also on the rise, which meant keen beachgoers had the option of which beach they wanted to visit. This meant that fewer people were using the Bondi tram and choosing to visit other beaches around Sydney. Bondi Beach was selected as the location for the 1954 Royal Command Surf Carnival, which was held in the presence of the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. Slide me. In an attempt to bring people back to the beach, the courtyards were leased out throughout the 1950s and 1960s. This was instead called the Bondi Surf Pavilion Community Centre and was officially opened in 1978 by the Premier of NSW Neville Rand. During the 1980s, the government allocated $4 million to improvements in Bondi Park, including the implementation of picnic shelters, a revamp of the pavilion forecourt area, an entrance to a car park at Queen Elizabeth Drive, and the development of a skateboard track. Stabilization of the seawall and promenade was conducted over 5 years from 1987 to 1992, with more pathways built and trees planted during this time. Despite the numerous changes over the decades since the beach has been public, the significant connection between the promenade and the beach remains loyal to the original designs put forward in the 1880s. The cultural center remains to this day, with a theater, gallery, rehearsal rooms, meeting rooms and function rooms. The arcades, change rooms and toilets are still used by keen visitors. timeline of Bondi Beach's cultural landscape. 1788, European settlers land in Australia. 1810, Bondi Beach and Bondi Park granted to William Roberts, who kept the area private. 1850s, bus routes introduced to Sydney's eastern suburbs. 1851, Edward Smith Hall and Francis O'Brien purchased 200 acres and named it the Bondi Estate. 1855, foreshore lands began to grow in popularity as a picnic area and amusement resort. 1859, Municipal Council requested the government make 25 acres available to the public but was denied. 1882, 25 acres of the land dedicated as a public reserve. 1884, first tramway built that traveled to Bondi Junction. 1887, first baths opened to the public. 1899, baths were extended to accommodate more people. 1905, substation built at Bondi Junction for the electric tram service. 1906, Bondi Surf Bathers Life-Saving Club and North Bondi Surf Club were both founded. 1907, weatherboard shed for Bondi Surf Bathers Life-Saving Club. 1911, bathing sheds remodeled and developed to accommodate 750 men and 250 women. 1920s, popularity for the beach rose and thousands of people flocked to the beach. 1923, Waverley Council implemented Bondi Beach and Park Improvement Scheme. 1924, sand dunes caused seawall to collapse. 1925, original baths demolished. 1926, parking fees in timed parking periods of 3 hours introduced. 1928, Bondi Surf Pavilion opened to the public. 1929, Turkish baths and hot water baths opened to the public. 1929, electric tram service extended to North Bondi. 1930, council secured loan of £120,000 with further £40,000 borrowed for the improvement scheme. 1931, famous Bondi Baths building built that remains to this day. 1933, state government took over bus services and regular buses traveled between Bondi Beach and the CBD. 1933, clubhouse for North Bondi Surf Club that is still there today. 1934, Bondi Surf Bathers Life-Saving Club current clubhouse built. 1942, concrete groins destroyed in park surrounded by barbed wire. 1954, Royal Command Surf Carnival held at Bondi Beach in the presence of the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh. 1977, change rooms, lockers, former Turkish baths and courtyards demolished. 1978, they were replaced with netball court, art gallery, gymnasiums and amphitheater. 1978, Bondi Surf Pavilion Community Center officially opened by Premier of NSW Neville Rand. 1987, stabilization of the seawall and promenade began and was conducted over 5 years. Source: NSW Office of Environment and Heritage.